think, is it okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I will not say much. I will just say hello to everybody and especially to our today's guest speaker, Professor Fan from Taipei University of the Arts. I want to welcome everybody in the name of the Vienna Center for Taiwan Studies. This is our first lecture in this semester. We will have two more. I hope most of you have seen it, are aware of this. I personally am very much looking forward to today's lecture because I read the novel that we will not hear about the novel, we will hear about how to transform it, make it into a theater play, which I personally it's very hard for me to imagine. And I'm very curious, but I will pass on the word to Liu Wanyi, who has joined us recently at the department and has already managed to bring a very welcome and very interesting guest to our department. And as she knows Professor Fleur much better than me, and I think anybody here, and yes, has invited him to come, I will pass on the word to you and he will moderate. And thank you for inviting Professor, and Professor, thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure.
Honor and pleasure.
Hello everyone, I'm Wani, and it's a pleasure to being a first lecture in the series of the lecture. And I participated personally the previous two with a screen, like filming screen, and it's very interesting because I'm a freshman and very new here in the theology department, and for me it's a very fresh experience. For example, I saw different aspects of Taiwan, like in a Chinese-speaking culture area. The first movie is talking about the indigenous tribe, and the second one is talking about the Vietnamese immigrants. And right now we are coming to a central city like Changhua in Taiwan. So we try to show you different aspects of how the rich culture in this small island. So welcome, and thank you a lot for Professor He, like he is doing recently in his research visits in Salzburg, and that's why we got a chance to visit, to invite him. So I pass the microphone to you. Thanks so much.
Good afternoon. Ich habe nur ein bisschen Deutsch, so I switch to English. I practiced the German for a long day, for the whole day already. I have to introduce myself a little bit. First of all, I identify myself as a scholar, just like many of you. Doing research is my job and my love, okay? But what I specialize is the history of Western drama and the theater. That's why I specialize. But around a decade or 10 years ago, I began to feel the potential damage brought by my research. Why? Because being a Taiwanese living in Taiwan, whenever I opened my book about Western drama, that's a long distance. Then I began to research history, either Athenian drama, Athenian Greek tragedy, that's 2,500 years ago, or Shakespeare, that's 400 years ago, that's another distance. So I began to feel that my research seems to lift me up, make me float in the air. So I think, no, it's not right. Life should not live in that way, even though I have great patience for my research. So I decided to do something. What?
No, just the camera doesn't really
Oh,
help you.
okay, I understand.
No, maybe if you want to stand here, we can change the.
I try to stay, remain here, remain this position.
No, you move very well.
And so I tried to do something practical things. Yeah. That's why I began to have the long-term collaborations with a theater company called Our Theater in Taiwan. So we began to do many theater productions and being their dramaturg. So being a dramaturg can make me down to earth. That's one thing I think that make my life much more healthy being a scholar. And I also would like to share this idea with you because I know most of you in this room will be and are scholars too. On the other hand, I think that's my advantage of being a scholar, that whenever I encounter problems in doing dramaturgy, I always go back to history and the theory about my beyond my research. So that you can say that's two extremes constructed my life. On the one hand, being a scholar, on the other hand, doing something very down to earth, being a dramaturg. And that also becomes the backbone for today's lecture. So today's lecture, I not only give you how I do the dramaturgy things, dramaturgical works for the adaptation of a Italian chess novel Ghost of the Town. I'm also sometimes will share some of my ideas. How I draw inspirations from history and the theories from Western drama. Okay, that's a brief introduction. So let me go on. So first of all, I will quickly introduce my role being a dramaturg. So being a dramaturg, I have to work with a group of people, theater persons. Usually, are you recording now? So you cannot use very abstract theoretical terminologies to communicate with the actors, designers, even directors. Yeah. So you have to use very practical and comprehensible language. So that's why I always tell my students that a dramaturg is not a theater critic. Dramaturgy is a different discipline from so-called drama criticism. But also, I am responsible in a production. I take care about logic, perspective, points of views. That's basically that can help a group team, the production team, to structure a play. But I am not responsible for creativity. I'm responsible for the form. I don't care about the flesh. That's other members of the production team, directors, actors, designers. That's their job. Okay. Also, I think I play a bridge between the performance and today's audience. For a long while, I don't know the case in Austria, but in Taiwan, Taiwan theater circus can be described as the artistic oriented or artistic centered. If I'm an artist, any decision I make, that counts. So if I don't understand being an audience, if I don't understand the show, that's my fault. I'm too stupid. I don't follow the artist's the cleverness or genius ideas. But that's not the case in my view. I don't think that's right. So I think every production should communicate with the audience. So being a dramaturg, I think I play the role of bridging the performance and the audience. But then I often got the question, especially from the directors. They always ask me that if everybody has different life experience, everyone is different, how can you make sure that the idea we produce on stage can be communicated to the audience? So I borrow a term from German philosopher Habermas. Basically, he has a term called public sphere. He used the terms to discuss politics, but I use the terms to describe what a dramaturg can do for productions. I usually play the chips. I think we first meet today, right? Do you believe that I know you something? Do you want to have a bet for €1? €? Yes, I know something about you. Do you want to have a bet with me? Oh. Okay. Biologically, I think you have one father and one mother. I think you have some relatives, so you must live in the a kind of kinship. In Austria, I bet the economic system you have or you live in is called capitalism, and the political system is called democracy. Is there anything I'm wrong? Okay. So everything I described is so-called the public sphere. Okay. So when we, for a dramaturg, work with the director, we try together to find out a perspective or view from for the productions. That's the perspective for the public sphere. So everyone, no matter how different your life experience is, we must live under the same public sphere. So that's the case. I try to persuade the directors and also teach my students that what a dramaturg should do. When you try to find the perspective, it's not related to your personal experience, it's related to the public sphere. Okay, so for the Dr. Tang, there is a very simple but very universal issues. It's called home. But later on, we will come back to talk about how we think about the home and by which we structure the whole production. Okay. This time, I tried to find the German version. That's the cover of the German version, but it's translated not like German ghost town, right? It's like a ghost town or something. But anyway, it's a novel by Kevin Chen. It's his semi-autobiographical novel. So basically, he set up the background in his hometown, her birthplace in Yongjing, in Zhanghua County. And also now he really lives in Berlin. So the story comes back and forth from Yongjing and Berlin. Yeah, that's the novel. Then Xiangmi, I forgot to check which year it was published. What's its publication year? But once it was published, it becomes bestseller in Taiwan. Okay, but I was commissioned to be the dramaturg for adapting of our Ghost Town in 2023. I think that's in January or February. And we work on for the dramaturgical jobs for half a year. And then in October 2023, it had a tryout, just a 1 hour tryout in Yongjing, in Yuanling. Yuanling is the capital city of Zhanghua, and the Yongjing is his neighbor. Yeah, the neighbor town. The artistic director is Wang Zhaoqian. 2 directors is Zhang Xiongwei, Lin Zhenzhong, and we also have 2 playwrights, Guo Jiawei, Zhang Yunrong. Yeah, and then that's the tryout. Later on, I will honestly tell you that it's a failure. And then in October 2024, in the same theater, Yuanling, Zhanghua Yuanling Performing Centers, we have our first premiere. It's also a failure. Okay. But fortunately, that we had a revival this year in July and August in Taipei. The culture is a cultural park called C-Lab, but in the C-Lab there is a theater called Playground Theater, and we had 16 performers. And because we had the 2 experience of failure, we failed twice. So we had a lot of things we know that how to improve the play. So fortunately that in this revival, we did something right, and we had a very good response. I will explain what we did and what we do later. Okay, this is the photo of the guy from the right is Wang Zhaoqian, and the 2 playwrights and 2 directors. Okay, here is our things that we have to face, the very realistic conditions that a dramaturg should has to face. First of all, what's the characteristics of the novel? It's very long. You read the novel, you know, it's a long novel. And it has many characters. It's one thing I feel I have an ambivalent feeling about it. It has a surprising ending. If you read the novel, you know that the protagonist called Tian Hong, Tian Hong's mother, once we thought she died in a house fire in an arson. But in the end of the novel, she come back. She was not dead. She was being together with her puppy lover, who is a snake saver now. It's a big surprise, which I don't like it. Yes, I know it's just like the long series in the novel or the TV dramas. The playwright like to give a big surprise in the end of the play. But now, see the conditions I have. First of all, I only have 100 minutes. Okay, just 10 minutes longer than this lecture. And then I have 100 minutes. I cannot present everything, every details on stage. Secondly, it's the artistic director's decision that we included a very local folk acrobatics. It's called Lang Lao. Lang Lao is a Taiwanese. It's a very local acrobatics, often used in funeral. And the artistic director said, since the background of the novel is set in Yongjing, we needed to use the Yongjing's performing element. And so he decided that he insists to incorporate Lang Lao, this kind of vocal acrobat in the play. And that's the conditions I have to face. So what should I do? Okay. So my adaptation strategy, number one, is I learn something from my study, from the history of Western drama. So we decided to use a style I call it epic narrative. Epic narrative, I got this inspiration from an Italian playwright called Stefano Massini. And he wrote a very long play, quotation mark, called the Lehman Brothers trilogy. Originally, I think the first premiere of Lehman trilogy was on radio. It takes 9 hours. It's very, very long. And then it's had many adaptations in different companies. And the most renowned one was produced by a National Theatre of London, directed by Sam Mendes. It's just 3 hours, but it's a wonderful production. And why I call it epic narrative, because if you look at the format of Lehman trilogy, you will find it just look like the same as Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. It's like this. Sorry, I cannot find the German version. So on the right column, that's Lehman trilogy. You see just line by line by line. You don't see who said these lines. You don't see the character. On the left column, that's Homer's Iliad. So the format is exactly the same. So I decided that the performing text for Ghost Town should look like an epic narrative. Okay, then it's free. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So when this becomes a narrative, so we can do something for our convenience. For example, one actor can play many parts, can play many characters. Okay, and secondly, that for example, if you read a novel, you will know that Tian Hong, the protagonist, he has 5 sisters, but now we can just reduce it into 1. We use one concept called typicality. Typicality means that this sister will have all the features of all the sisters. Yes, we try, but not everyone. But we give the most typical one, put in just the one female actress and one sister. And the one actor will be very busy because he has to play, he and she has to play many characters, including the narrator. Because, okay, and then of course it brings some challenge for our director and the actors. I will explain that later. So, and then what we do is we deconstructed the whole novel and reconstructed them by the things we find which that related to our audience and also related to theater or the style of theater performance. For example, as I mentioned, that in the novel, they like to put a surprising ending, a reversal in the end of the story plot, in the end of the story. But I only have 100 minutes. 100 minutes. It's not the way theater tells story. So instead, we have a prologue. We put almost every important things and the things into the prologue. So we try to, just like you watch the preview for a movie, that you can know what's going on about the movie in maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes. So we have a prologue that's trying to reverse the whole style of storytelling way, different from Kevin Chan's novel. So we have a prologue. Then we have one scene we call it all about sex, because the main story is about Tian Hong. He's a gay, and when he was a little boy, he has his first sexual enlightenment, inspired by his neighbor. And then when he went to junior high school, he had his second puppy love. When he went to Berlin, he met another guy, they fall in love, but unfortunately that the Berlin guy turned out to be a neo-Nazi. So his boyfriend tortured him, and then they fight. And finally, by accident, he killed his boyfriend. So these 3 relationships with the 3 important men, all related to sex. So by this thing, all about sex, we just talk about the 3 major relationships with Tian Hong's 3 relationships with 3 lovers. The second thing we call it mothers, because why this novel is called Ghost the Town, because when Tian Hong's mother found that he's a gay, her mother and she had a great prejudice against her own son, tortured him, abused him. But being a mother, she is also a daughter-in-law. So when she was a daughter-in-law, she was abused, mistreated by her mother-in-law. And her mother-in-law, when she was a daughter, she was mistreated and abused by her mother-in-law. So we see the crime or guilty or prejudice. It seems that they can be passed down generation by generations. So we try to convey a thing that no prejudice or no discriminations can exist alone. They pass down by generations. So in scene 2, we just in a retrospective way, we tell different mothers' stories. Mother and then the mother's mother-in-law and the mother-in-law's mothers. Up to the last one is Tianhong's great-grandmother who was raped and hung herself in the bamboo forest. Yeah. And then we had an epilogue. We tried to focus one important thing about home, because the ghost town actually is a story you can describe as a guy who wants to go home, but he never can, because the true home can never exist. Yongjing is his home, but then whenever he goes home, his family cannot accept him. So we try to give we call it a mobile cycle. Mobile cycle is an endless actions of coming home but fail, coming home but fail. Yeah. Okay, that's the structures of the play. But also it's my decision. But I think I told you that almost everybody. I just mentioned that this play, we have to deconstruct the plays, and then according to the themes about sex, mothers, and so on, to reconstruct the text. The text collected from the novels. And I told my playwright, the whole production team, you should not change any single word. No single word is changed. Every single word remain the same. It's just in a different procedures. So I told you that we have two playwrights. Actually, they don't invent any single word. They are creative editors. They have to collect the different sentence from this part to that part into our plain text. Also, I asked them to put the number, the page number. So why? Because when we know that Ghost Town has been translated into almost 90 languages. If one day, for example, Ghost Town can tour in Vienna, it's very easy for us to do the subtitles because we can find the German version, compare the page number, and we find, oh, what's the lines or what's the text in German version, and put them into our subtext or the functions. So not a single word should be changed. Every word, but the most important reason is, of course, Kevin has a very poetic language. His language, Chinese language, is very, very beautiful. Very beautiful and very poetic. We like his prose writing. So that's another reason we try to keep his language intact. Okay, then we are talking about the challenge. Since that no single word, every line should come from the novel, not word. You cannot change a single word. Also, we use the epic narrative style. So the first challenge goes to director and the actor. The first director, Xiong Wei, he's responsible for the drama. Even after 6 months rehearsal, he still came to me and said, Ifan, can we change the line? He hold up the cup. Can I change the he into I? Because for actors, they get used to impersonating characters. So I hold up this cup. That's very normal. But now I want to say, he hold up the cup. Oh, they feel very confused. So he came to me and said, can we change he into I? And I say, no, not a single word change. That's the Aaron law. But the actor should learn how to detach, get away from his role. he is in his role, behind his role to act. Sometimes he should get away from his role to become a narrator to tell the story. So he's very busy. And that kind of switch techniques should be very familiar for German audience, because you have a theater theorist and also director called Breschke. Breschke's theory called alienation疏离理论 alienation effect. He always asked his actors to get away from his role, not always be in role playing. Okay, that's the same requirement I ask for my actors. So, but that's the first challenge for my first director, Xiong Wei. Secondly, another challenge is that you can imagine that if all the actors just telling the story by narrating, the whole stage might sound like a play reading. That would be very boring. But don't forget, we have a Lang Lao, the local acrobat. So we have to analyze the words you say and try to find the point behind the lines and use the point you find to build up imaginary. Imaginary. For example, in the prologue, we didn't mention a plot in the story, in the novel. There is a bookstore called Tomorrow Bookstore, and then there are two bosses, the thin one and the fat one. And the two bosses of the bookstore organized a study group, reading some books forbidden by Taiwan government, because there was a time with censorship. And then Tian Hong's mother report, and almost the two bosses were arrested. We didn't mention this plot by narrating. But if you look at the plot or the event, you can tell that why people so scared about why people have to read in private, to read some books, some so-called forbidden books. Because that was a time with a big authority. So we have the acrobatic actor who can do stilt. Yeah, who can do the stilt? You know stilt? Yeah, you can stay very high, and then a footlight from not above, from 下面怎么讲？我现在忘记了。From below. Yeah, a footlight from below projected on the man on the stilt. You can see a giant shadows on the screen. So that's the authoritative image corresponding to the story. So we even invented a term called mining. So everybody, director and the actor, you should try to mine the word, like you try to mine the stones in order to find some precious stone. So they have to try to mine the words in order to try to find something interesting, in order to build a visual imaginary. Yeah, that's one thing the actors should do. And of course, not a very easy job. Okay, here is the one slide for our tryout. You can see that we have 3 acrobatic actors, 4 drama actors. Yeah, and the photo always looks very nice. Okay, always looks very nice, and but actually the performance is a disaster. Yes, that's really a disaster. One thing I forgot to mention, even though I insist that not a single word should be changed, every word remain the same, but we changed the word into Taiwanese. So 90% of language are spoken in Taiwanese. Yeah, but we have the projections for subtitle, so you can see the original text. You can still see the original text there. Yeah. Okay, nice photos, but bad performance. Yes. Okay, that's two failures. The first failures happened in our trial. I told the two directors and the actors that please, we have drama, we have acrobat, we have novel. Don't put them into a bowl of salad. Can you follow my point? A bowl of salad, you just put everything, spoon it, and then don't do that. And it turned out it's a bowl of salad. I was so angry. I even resigned to be the dramaturg for a while. Yes. And then in the next year, in our first premiere, still the two challenges posed by my dramaturgical strategies have not been totally overcome. So it looks better, but it's not a disaster, but it's just a failure. So but Kevin, he went to the he went to the performance. So he's a superstar, and all his book fans came to buy the tickets, and we have a full box office, and people say, "Oh, that looks nice." One senior theater critic called Ji Huilin, she posted on her Facebook saying, "I like it because it's a folk melodrama, but looks very avant-garde." I feel very 心虚. I hope hopefully you know 心虚 means that, yeah. Yeah, not a very good one. But we also know that we overcome some problems, but we forget or we ignore the very basic things we should do. That is to establish the characters' relationships. I'm your mother. You are my mother. I'm his father, and he's my son. That kind of character relationship should be our first and foremost job. And we forgot, we ignored to do that. So we have an intermission because since the premiere, we have around almost 8 months. We can settle down, we can calm down, and we can figure out what problems we had and try to improve. But during the intermission, I personally had something very uneasy happen to me. Yeah, I began to think about what kind of modern audience is, or what kind of people modern audience are. That's the questions I'm really concerned about. Yeah. So I think everyone goes to theater. Yeah. And when you go to theater, you are hiding yourself in the darkness. So you have no face. You are a faceless person. And basically, you are a weightless person too, because I call it double exemption. What's double exemption? For example, there is a term I borrowed from Coleridge. Coleridge is the English poet of the 19th centuries or late 18th centuries. He invented a term called wearing suspension of disbelief, which means that okay, you go to see Spider-Man, and you see a boy bite by a superpower spider and become Spider-Man, and then you believe it. You believe it. You just suspend your doubt, suspend your disbelief automatically. Coleridge says that, okay, for all, not only theater, movie, for all fictions, once people face the fictions, people will suspend their disbelief automatically. I think that's true. Otherwise, we cannot appreciate the fairy tale. Otherwise, we cannot appreciate A Midsummer Night's Dream or some other sci-fi film. But
in real life, when I say something about something, I think your first response to my statement is doubt. You have to think, oh, whether or not this statement is right or wrong. If I make something right, you accept my statement. If I say something wrong, you reject my statement. Okay, so doubt is our lifelike, or not lifelike, it's our real attitude we hold in our real life. But when you go to theater, you suspend your doubt. In other words, that you also suspend your responsibility of being a real human. On the other hand, you face a fiction, and anyone suffers on stage. It's not your business. If you see someone on the street hit by a car accident, I bet you might call 911. But you see someone hit by a car on stage. Okay, let's see what happened. So you have no responsibility for what happened on stage either. Yeah. So I call it double exemption. So that makes the modern audience become weightless, become very strange. And that becomes something I'm really worried about. Also, for modern audience, people like to be an omniscient procedure, which means that you are supposed to know everything. If you don't know why this boy killed this boy, you don't know why. Well, the playwright made a mistake. It's the playwright's fault. It's the director's fault. Because I am supposed to know the causality, the reason and effect. So all these complicated things now just hang in my mind. But anyway, I feel very strange about the status of modern audience, especially in the indoor proscenium theater. I have great doubt. Yeah. So what should I do? Okay, just forget about the big terms. Yeah. When the modern audience in the very strange status, they often have two kind of very extreme response. One is called the 智障. I know that you know Chinese, but the 智障, I don't mean to scold people or yeah. 智障 is a Buddhist term. Means that your intelligence is too good to have sympathy from others. Okay, so your intelligence, you are too smart, but you lose the basic abilities to have compassion for others. That's the original meaning of Buddha's 智障. So many audience, modern audience, I think they are 智障. Sounds like a good people. Yeah. I have I can share with you one example. I watched a show. It's about it's a French production. 5 volunteers telling their bad experience in the battle, in the front line of the battlefields, how miserable, how suffering they are, blah blah blah. And the playwright, through the characters, of course, mentioned 4 or 5 times that oh, the reasons for this battle, for this war is too complicated, so let's skip it. So they just tell you how they are miserable, how their life becomes so miserable. So after the show, I met a student, and she said, "Oh, I like the show. I like it very much." I said, "Okay, you like the show, so would you like to be the volunteers in the front line of the war? Do you want to do that?" So, "Oh no, Ifan, not so extreme. I just like its artistic style." Okay, you like the style, but how do the people suffering? You just forget how to pay your true sympathy for people suffer in the real world, because you think they are fictions, fictional things. Yeah. So that's why they are. That's why I think some audience of modern audience are so-called 智障. Another extreme is so-called too sentimentalism. They want nothing but tears or laughter. They don't want to think. They just want tears and the laughter, and that's the only thing they want. Yeah. So I think that's another problem belonging to the modern audience now. So what should I do? Especially, what should I do for being a dramaturg? What should I do for my future dramaturgical job? So again, I'm a historian. I always look back at what happened. You can tell this is the Dionysos theaters in Athens. You can imagine that all the audience sitting there, they have face. They are being seen. They are not only seen, they are only being seen, they have face. So if I show my snub face and you don't like my face, maybe after the show you will beat me. Yeah. So audience has responsibility. Being audience have its own responsibility. They have to be careful. Yeah. And it's also the case in Shakespeare's The Globe. Yeah, it's also an open air theater. It's the performers rely on the visibility of the performers rely on the daylight, which means that every audience is being seen too. They are being watched. They are not only watched the show, they are also being watched. So what can I do? This slide is too theoretical. Then please allow me to skip it. Yes. Okay. So what can I do? So I also got my inspirations from my research about the English Renaissance theater. The scholar Martin Putler, yeah. He specialized in an idea called occasional drama, because according to his research, every drama productions in late medieval time and Renaissance times in England must be produced for a very special occasion, which means that I want to do the show because I know you. I know what you need. I know what you desire. I know what you hate. And I know the producers, the actors, the playwrights, they know what their audience look like and what they want. In that case, they began to do show. So Martin Buchler says that it is the occasion that shaped the play, not vice versa. So today, when we do productions in the proscenium theaters, we have to face the faceless public. But if you do a show for an occasion, you know you are facing a community, and the member of the community must have an identity. Identity, yes. Identity, yes. So that's the ideas haunting me when I try to rescue Ghost Town for its revival. So from theater to occasion, theater is an empty space. It can stage anything. And so it's faced the public sphere. And that's why I used to do my dramaturgy. I said I must find some conditions belonging to the public sphere, just like the joke I make of you. And but you have to confront the faceless members or faceless members. But for an occasion, it's different because you are in a found space. Found space, for example, okay, it's took. If we want to use this space as a theater, I bet many of you, if you come to this space to watch a show, you have your memory about this space. So that is called the found space. Found space is always associated with symbols, memories, and so on. And that's with community, with the members has their own identities. But don't forget, one person has has multiple identities. So we only have to focus on one identity, which can connect it to our production. And that's the principle I applied to my second part of adaptation of Ghost of the Town. Okay. Okay. In public place, then we have a stuff called work. In Chinese, we call 作品. Okay, so we can stage the 作品, the work, in different place. You don't have to change any single word. But and then it's kind of like you detached from the world, since you can tour every place. And that's artistic product. But if you look at not the public, but you look at the community, you know that every time you do a performance, you are doing an action. And our theater, the theater company doing Ghost Town, they have a Cao Cao Drama Festival. They have a very good slogan. English translation might be a group of people complete something together. In Chinese, 一群人一起完成一件事。一群人一起完成一件事。Okay, that's a collective action. So doing performance is to complete a collective action. And Heidegger, he preferred and he used to describe art should be inlaid in the world, not detached from the world. And the audience, I even hope if you are the audience, you are not all the audience should have some responsibility. And since they have their responsibility, they must react or act something. Even be motionless, even they still sit there doing nothing, but in their mind, their response is a kind of action. I don't have so much time, so I have to skip some examples. One good example, just look at this. Hamlet. I hope that you remember Hamlet. There is a play in play called The Mousetrap. The Mousetrap is written by Hamlet for his bad uncle, Claudius, and his mother, Gertrude. He wants to use this play in play, Mousetrap, to incite his audience response in order to test whether or not Claudius, his bad uncle, is guilty of killing his father. Okay, so that's a very, very typical occasional drama, very typical case of occasional drama. And we know that Claudius, after the show, he stand up and said, turn off the light, turn on the light, and he ran away. He walked away immediately. Okay, so that Hamlet's words, I skip it. Okay, so when we all knew that we had the chance to have the revival of Ghost Town in July and August this year in Playground, I at least began to think, try to look at the revival from the perspective of occasional drama. So we have to look at two things. What kind of space it is? So what is the Playground Theater? And the Playground Theater actually is located in a cultural park to see that. It used to be the headquarters of Air Force. I know that you are Chinese studies, so I think you already have some understanding of Taiwan's history. Yeah, after 1949, Chiang Kai-shek and his KMT Kuomintang, they moved into Taiwan, and Taiwan was under dictatorship for a long time. And so the theater company, the theater space used to be the auditorium of the Air Force space. Okay, so it's a fun place. It's a fun space. It's full of association and memories. And so these association memories are about, for example, dictatorship, military forces, or the immigrant from mainland China, like my parents, or some not very nice things. Yeah, and so on. All you can say all these memories embodied in this theater space, playground. Okay, and so KNP is temple. You know temple is? Okay, Taiwan, you can say is polarized. It's toned up by two colors. It's called pen blue and pen green. Pen blue is more conventional, still and inherited the traditions from KMT. Pen green is more preferred or for Taiwan's independence, but now he's the Taiwan's ruling party. The pen blue and pen green. Taiwan is torn apart by these two political ideologies. Yeah. Okay, what is our theater? Being the action engine, what's our theater look like? Most of his productions by our theater spoken Taiwanese. So naturally or automatically, it will be attributed, how to say, at the side, he will be seen, he will be thought regarded on the side of penguin. And there are more young generation after 1987. Why 1987? 1987 is the removal of martial law in Taiwan. The martial law, 戒严令, was removed in 1987. So most of our theater's members and their audience are post 1987 generation. Yeah. So Taiwan has become a developed country. People or our generations concern more about the environment, same-sex marriage, and these issues, not making money. So simply speaking, Pengu is our last generation, my parents' generation, and our theater, Penguin, belongs to this generation. It's a very, very simplified dichotomy, but I just, yeah, it's for the reason, for the sake of making it clear, yeah. Okay, here is the playground theater. Actually, it's a 中正堂. 中正堂, 中正 is Chiang Kai-shek's name. So you can tell that it's used to in memory of Chiang Kai-shek. And now it's converted into a theater. And Ghost Place, Ghost Town was staged inside. It's playground. Okay, I took these photos because this part, you can tell it still belongs to the military campaign. But outside the buildings, you see some high building. That building used to be the military village. So soldiers and their families live there. But now, of course, they were converted into public buildings. Yeah. 国民住宅 or mass buildings. Yeah. And anyway, so we believe many military soldiers and their descendants still live there. And that building also outside the cultural park is called 地堡. 地堡supposed are the most expensive buildings in Taipei, because a lot of people in my parents' generation, they were not evil. They were not evil. They just follow the governmental policy. They think making money should be their most important life goal. So, and fortunately that they make money. So they bought 地堡. So they live there. So they are, of course, the product of last generation. We have a very very cute producer. She thought, I really hope people live in 地堡 and people live in the military village, they can come to see Ghost Town. And she really does some effort to attract them, but not very good yet. The result is not very good. Yeah. And then it's a movement. I bet some of you know that in Taiwan, in the first half of the year, Taiwan had a very important political movement. In English, we call it the master recall, but the Chinese is much more clear. It's called 大罢免, because some pale blue congressmen made some very unbearable policies. Yeah, so people voluntarily tries to depose them. And for one demonstration on Kaidao is the boulevard before our president home. We saw this picture because on the left is of course the national flags of Taiwan, Republic of Taiwan, yeah, and Republic of China. That's the flag we still use on our passport. And on the left is the Taiwan independent, because they now have the same, they share a same goal, because they don't like communists. Yeah. They don't like communists but usually the people for the next generations, they don't want Taiwan to be independent. They hope one day they can fight back and recapture the mainland China and to be unified with China. But they want to fight with whom? Fight against whom? Communists. But all these congressmen this time, they made some very unbearable policies, are very very favorable to communists or communism. So this reason, anti-communism brought two powers or polars, to bring two extremes be together on this demonstration. So someone took these photographers. So you can see the two flags coexist on the same demonstration. That's one thing I have never dreamed about, never dared to dream about since I was a college student. Yeah. For example, for a long while, these two groups, they never see each other eye to eye. Yeah, they hate each other. But now for the master recall bring these two camps into one. So this inspired me a lot, give me a shot and give us a great inspiration. So Ghost Town actually belongs to how much time is there? But I have, yeah, good. Because Ghost Town is one of the 4 productions our theater staged in Kongzhou, in playground. The total name is just called the Noise Storm. So Noise Storm is the general name, including the 4 productions. So I told the artistic director and the producer that the whole goal for the whole Noise Storm should be dialogue of the two extremes, rather than confrontation or conflicts. So in other words, in Chinese, we hope this time is 两极对话 rather than 两极对立. Does that make sense? We hope that they have conversation, they can have dialogue rather than confrontations. So, so the audience we target for Ghost Town. Now this time are very simple. We are targeted the audience are those guys who want to go home, but they can't. Just like my father, just like my parents. They were immigrants in 1949 from mainland China. They wanted to go back to China to visit their home, but for almost 40 years, they couldn't. Until late 1980s, the government allowed them to visit back their home. But for a long time, home is something they are dreaming every day, but they cannot go back. Yeah. So Tian Hong, the protagonist of Ghost Town, is also the guy who wants to go home, but he can't. Every time he goes home, he found, the neighbors, the families, or some relatives still hold discriminations against the homosexual. So that's the home. He cannot go back. Yeah. So that's the audience identity we target. And then we decided a frame in the play. So that's the device we didn't have in our tryout and our previous, but we had this new device. Easy. It's a round table. I think you must know what round table symbolizes to Chinese. It means union. It means we can have dinner together around a table. So we use this round table as a very important symbol to reconstruct either our narrative, our text, our actions. Yeah, we even use the round tables to do some acrobatics. Yeah. Yeah, but also we also targeted the young audience who are like my daughter, who always would like to go home, leave home, but for time being they can't. So we also, but you know that if you read it, this reflect the young audience reflected an attitude toward the home that's very analytical. They want to, like a surgeon, like a physical surgeon. They want to dissect the home. My father, how bad it is to me, he is not fair. And my mother is to like to blackmail emotions, blah, 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 blah. They're always very critical, critically these analytical ways toward the home. And actually, that's the style, that's the way Kevin Chan's novel did, applying to his home. Yeah. So we also targeted the two types of audience. The audience who would like to go home, but they can. The audience who want to leave home, but they can't for time being. Okay, so that's the whole dramaturgical job we do. So you can tell that I experienced an important shift from targeting the public sphere to occasion. Yeah, and the first thing I try to think is not about how to play the theme, what are they, rather than what are my audience, what identity they could have. Yeah, to me, that's a very important shift and the change in my dramaturgical reflection. Yeah. Okay, I still have some time, so I want to show you some video clips. Hopefully I can control the time well. Help me. First from 11:03. We respected the text very much. So in the beginning, before you hear anything, before you see anything, any theatrical element, the first thing you see is word. You read, okay, by the subtitles. 11, okay. So we put our subtitles on two sides. Okay, stop now. You can tell it's in silent, but we give audience the words. 小地方很久没有下雨，等等。All the words from Chen Sheng's novel, Kevin Chan's novel. And then we have our acrobat. It come out. And then that's our okay, here the next part, yeah. And we also use a kind of a very special song called 念歌. 念歌 is also used in funeral. So, but we have a wonderful singer for 念歌. So whenever he sings, 老天我是鬼, oh, the whole atmosphere is changed. Yeah. Okay, please move to
57.
Yes. Yeah. I want to show a longer clips about the third part of about sex, which tell Tianhong's relationships with his early partners. Okay, but because most of Tianhong's lines are spoken in Mandarin, not Taiwanese. But later on, you will see his sister in the front stage spoken in Taiwanese. But then I want to show you about how we use lines to construct so-called imaging. Yes. Can you say louder?
无梦的深眠，趋近。
兄弟下会有大阿伯，伊拄到柏林一礼拜，文学驻村单位安排小公务伫柏林的东北，一楼一个小门口，要向吵闹的大街，一头一门一侧一语一房一个大全无房，相对拢干阿一个，是全的都是小公务。
说的是一个新的语言，新的风声，新的语声，文字标识海报、招牌、书籍，它是被一起在新法阅读文字的焦虑，但此刻他想做那个局外人，他只是来短剧，想成为我的一部分。
别消息，为什么谁让你找回这个大哦？
鞋，手穿的鞋，好，可以上下车，双眼在车厢坐在地板地方，你看这件事，他被踩上。 相处检查，因为他都给了玻璃，可以帮你一种样式。
In the house, in the house, therefore, they have this in the right relations. So this, the content of these letters, now we are speaking half spoken by his sisters in the front stage, half the narrative of his own. But we keep throwing the part, just like that I threw one message, one message.
How far?
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
T 摆了好几套美国牌子的球鞋，
Okay.
鞋面上都有大大的类似样。
Now, in Berlin, his partners became very strange because he joined the neo-Nazi. Yeah, and their relationships deteriorated.
在网上视频来起，他终于开口说，在网络上看到流行的画面，逼着身体割开黑夜换的衣服出门，消失。
所以摆了后，一人透早去公园走回来，穿一道青草的早顿，青笑的上冲真正会满面的笑容。伊讲，一切拢好势啊，伊转来一切拢无问题啊。 小帅进度如何啊？甲真甲咱，规工了后又搁消息，手机关机。
看回来在监狱里，女友看见莎士比亚，才从他们口中懂那些符号。穿 New Balance 的鞋子，因为有个大写的 N 在前面上 ，N 代表纳粹。外套袖 A 代表新二的名 ，August。18。 1代表第一个英文字母就是 A，8代表第8个英文字母就是 H，18就是 AH 的代表。Adolf Hitler。4，第一个4代表第4个字母就是 D， 第二个4也是表示 Deutschland den Deutschen。德国属于德国人。 C 再度出现，带着绳索胶带抓住他，插住他的喉咙。
你袂说，我听到 A 声的高档手卡。
绳索把他绑在椅子上，胶带贴他的口鼻。T 开始整理打包，说他要搬家了，再也不回来，要去别的城市。T 说他这次回来是该说再见。你不礼貌，有点不认识。大概都过了，问他。 打过招呼，他被胶带连着，完全不能回答。殴打他，脱下他的裤子，条件解雇他。皮皮看到砖头，哭着道歉：“是，我知道是他们，是他们。”皮帮逼他喝补气的药物，他一直处在涣散的状态，但他记得尿。后来，在狱方感谢。
你的已经要把一些
在让大便往他脸糊，气拿刀片割他。
你讲拍摄，你讲我，你讲再会。
踢撕烂他的衣服，打他也打自己，一推他去撞墙，然后自己跟着撞。
你忍下一切，开手枪吧，出面来到门中，修。
一直问他问题。
提款卡密码，我不把那个提款信啊，就放里面，抓出来，我会让他生气。
当那个绑他的，查到他，替他完全不认识，那叫该死的贴上来，又开东西，他的必要，接着再次贴上，他完全无法回答。他想回答，他想问，他是。 那天一拿刀片，慢慢脱掉绑住他的绳索，然后从厨房拿出大刀子，往他撕过来。俩人在沾满屎尿地板上翻滚扭打，刀子仔细的踢了身体。 他双手都是血，还有大便。
我话题，你的咪咪啊笑，袂输咧甲讲感谢。
一把刀拔出来也很痛，又往他刺过来，用沾满鲜血的拳头揍他，又一阵扭打， 条子，又刺青体的视频。比如说
Go now.
In the novel, after he killed his partners, he ran away and drove to a beach side where they used to have the memory and came home lying down on the beach. When he woke up, he realized that he was surrounded by a lot of swans. He was surrounded by a lot of swans. So now, now we are trying to do all the part now when reflecting on reflecting with the reflected light, it just look like the swan surrounded the killer, the swan that came home. Yeah.
海面顶的白点随烟飘浮，愈飘愈远，一层那层。可能无小夜到台湾去，伊感觉家己的体温一直流失，身躯豆豆啊含落沙漠。
Okay, maybe we can stop here. Yeah. Because the later here is an image quite pretty because all the spots with the reflecting light surrounded the Tianhong. But okay, we stop here. I know that we almost have no much more time, and I need to preview some time for QA. So I think my part just finished today. Okay. Thank you.
Because we are like 7 minutes left, so I'm wondering if anyone have a questions, we can like, please.
Sure.
Thank you very much for this very enlightening and very informative presentation. I have a very precise question also connected to this ending and one of the main themes in the book and in the show, which is this Nazi reference. And because you also presented this kind of juxtaposition of Tam blue, Tam green, these opposite forces and an attempt to create a connection or a dialogue. And I was thinking, in the making of the show, was there any point where you considered the affiliation between the KNT and the Nazi? We heard recently about this display of Nazi imagery by some activists. And I was thinking, since you made this quite political, also in your presentation, in a way. So I was thinking, was there any point where this kind of elements of extreme right ideology, did it play a role in your thinking?
Personally, I cannot represent all members of our theater, but to the best of my knowledge, I think we are more inclined to paint green part. Okay, and the producer did one thing very provocative, and she makes some of the members of the theater not very happy because in one demonstration for the Taban, she asked our actors to do a short performance for the whole noise storm. Yeah. That's the first time we can see that one production's publicity is so explicitly associated with the politics. It shocked me, really. but we got some feedbacks. How dare you? Don't you dare offend the painting side? Don't you dare? And we also see that for the almost everyone attending that demonstration, we can think we are confident that they are not theater goers. But if they want to see theater, if their first impression about the theater, that will be our show. So yes, that's a very fair movement in doing the publicity things. Yeah. Other than that, we still be very careful to be away from too much involvement with the politics. Yeah. And it's pity because I really tried hard to invite the older generations audience to come to see our show. But unfortunately, most of them are passed away, died, including my father. Yeah. But I asked myself, and I also expressed to the team, production team, that I will still insist to keep dialogue of the two extremes rather than confrontation, even though we lost our target audience. But at least we demonstrate attitude. Now with you, father or mother or temple guys, you are not our enemy. We try to demonstrate this kind of attitude. We try to make them know that your predicament in your life, we have this too. For example, you cannot come home. We have a person who, because of his sexual inclination, cannot come home either. We share very similar predicament. That's the one thing I think we will do, at least I will keep doing for the rest of my life. Yes. Thank you. Very good question. Yes.
I have another question. Like in the beginning, you mentioned that if the audience does not understand what you're trying to say, then it's your fault.
Yes.
Which is a very provocative thing, because usually theatre is going to be there to make the audience like think about problems or like social fears.
Yes.
So for me, this is a contradiction.
A contradiction or what?
So if you say that it's your fault when the audience does not understand this.
Yeah, that would be my fault.
Yeah,
But this production of okay, the tryout is a failure. Okay, I have some part of the responsibilities. The premiere is a failure. I am responsible for some part. That's true, yes. But instead of giving the audience a very easy or familiar way of presenting stories, I still insist that so-called action method. Yeah. But we have to change the actors' way of acting. We have to teach the actors how to build the image. We have some goals to improve rather than going back to use the old-fashioned way. And this year's revival, I guarantee you, it's definitely comprehensible. Yes, I just mentioned we have a senior critic, Qi Hui. She came to see last year's show. She said, "Oh, I like it, even though it's an avant-garde. I feel very." This year, she came here again. She said, "I like last year's production, but I like this year's production more because I understand everything."
And maybe because she saw me twice.
No, because she told the two directors coming to her that you must change the text a lot. The two directors says, No, we didn't change any single word, but we reveal the characters' relationships. That makes the whole thing just different, totally comprehensible. And then not only Jihui see that we had many audience come to see this year's show, only the first time and only time. I like one description. They feel puzzled for a while, but in the end, they can understand everything. So they have an experience like making the jigsaw, like making the jigsaw. But in the end of the play, they can see the whole picture. Yeah. So that's how we did. Yes. And it can be kind of success. Of course, if you take the chance to be staged again, I hope that we can do more to reduce the imaginary, because imaginary is a very visually powerful thing. We haven't done enough yet. I can do it. Yeah. But the company's ability. Fine. Yeah.
I mean, because maybe I grew up in the wrong time, but like in Western theater is like, yeah, audience doesn't really have to understand. They have to make up their mind. They have to know some any background, history, or other plays or whatever. Or
Yes, I agree.
so it's yeah,
But I wouldn't.
the other way around,
Yeah, I would say because
which is very interesting, of course. Yeah.
when we emphasize, we give enough attention to artists. They just create. They don't care about it. I don't agree with that.
So there will be some artists in the West, maybe on your way to hear about that, or consider the audience in any way.
The German is a people originating from Germany. So I can't so I feel very honored with respect to the country. Talking about my dramatical job, that's my great honor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. And I think the time is time's up, so we don't. If you want to have a private talk, we can stay 5 minutes. And thanks for, and I hope you enjoyed today's event. Thank you.